All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Working Title Podcast. Christopher DeSimone, Clinton Peak.
Christopher.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm well. Happy Wednesday.
The man we call Hard Drive, right? I found out one of his other nicknames is Peekaboo. So that's good, too.
Hey, you know what? As a kid, real quick, of course, that was infuriating when you're like 11. Peekaboo. And then I'm like, I'm going to embrace that. So people, what's your name? I'm Clint. Peek. What? Like in Peekaboo. You know what? Doesn't hurt at all anymore.
I love it.
But the 11-year-old Clint was not happy about that.
49-year-old Clint's okay with it.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Just like
You're
Jack
such
Benny.
a good friend. You're such a good friend. 49 and holding.
Peekaboo, my boy Peekaboo here.
Yeah.
Well, today is...
Well, thank you, D-Train.
D-Train. Today is September 11th.
Yeah.
Have we forgotten?
No.
I know you haven't forgotten.
No.
Has America forgotten?
I don't know. I can't really speak from my
What do you
other...
think?
I think
you opine on a lot of things in this world.
I think we have, haven't we? It's pretty
Feels
obvious.
like it. Feels like
Because you remember that the first 2 weeks, man, everybody was hugging on each other. And are you good? Are you okay?
Those losers in Congress were singing "God Bless America" together.
All of them together, and I think they meant it.
Possibly,
most of them, probably a few did.
I agree.
No, I don't think. I hope we don't encounter something like that again that would bring us back.
23 years later, there's a portion of America, bigger and elected officials, who hate cops.
Yeah.
Right, which are a huge portion of our first responders.
Yeah. Do you agree that we've lost that?
Sure.
It was camaraderie, patriotism. What was it? It was just
so what's really
neighbors. Neighbors were embracing neighbors. Do you remember at that time? Actually, crime disappeared for a few days. People weren't hurting each other.
You're correct.
Or stealing from each other for a while.
So it's really weird is for a portion of our brothers and sisters out there, patriotism, love of America is a not cool thing.
I know it.
Now, one of the things that's also happened in the echo chambers of politics is once they really hated Trump and he said, "Make America great again," then all of a sudden, remember Pete Buttigieg, the idiot transportation secretary, said, "America's never been great." That was when he was running for president in 2020, right? So there's this attitude, and why is it for some reason... Again, things are political in this world. Democrats never wear anything patriotic.
Yeah.
Like it's uncool if you went to a Democrat just candidate rally and you wore a flag shirt.
Yeah.
They'd think you're a mole for the Republicans. You know, that's the sad part.
As a kid growing up, you all know my story. Grew up in the Midwest, rural town, small community, Opdyke, Illinois. Shout out to all 200 of you that are still there.
Peekaboo.
You know, I don't know if I've shared this with you. I Googled Opdyke, and when I lived there, it was rural. I mean, we're talking. There was a lot of towns around, but we were in the country. Now in Opdyke, Illinois, there is a horse and buggy sign on Highway 142, which runs right through the heart of it, because the Amish community has moved in, and there's a lot of horse and buggies. So Opdyke, Illinois, has went back in time since the 70s when I grew up there.
Opdyke, Illinois. Okay.
There was a truck parked in front of it, so there won't be a picture in Wiki.
How is there not a Wikipedia for Opdyke, Illinois?
I thought there was. O-P-D-Y-K-E. O-P-D-Y-K-E.
Oh, it's O-P?
O-P-D-Y-K. Yeah,
that's my problem. I'm doing up.
And there was a gentleman named Opdyke. At one time, back in the 40s, I think Opdyke had a railroad station and a bank. But my point, what I was getting to...
As of the 2010 census, the population is 254.
Yeah, there you go. That's what it was in 1970. I think we moved there in 1970. From the large metropolitan of Mount Vernon, Illinois, which is where I was born, which population hasn't changed either. It's about 16,000, 17,000 and has been for 60, 70
Former
years.
residents of note in the Wikipedia, Kanye West and Clinton Peak. That's unbelievable. That's amazing.
Here's where I was going with that. We did the Pledge of Allegiance every morning.
Yep.
All 182 or 184 or whatever, however many days we went per year. We did the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. It became routine. It was like, as a fourth grader, you're not. But that was just part of our culture. Guess what?
Yes.
We did the Pledge of Allegiance before we did events, PTA meetings, and there was always a prayer in and a prayer out.
Interesting.
My dad being a minister.
I couldn't get away with that anymore.
Yeah.
So
and we had Christmas plays, not holiday plays.
So I have a friend that I've known through the show named Charlie Foley, former TPD officer. He has a thing called Flags for the Flagless, and he just basically, it's a nonprofit where there's all these flagpoles in the world that have nothing, right? And all these schools that also don't have flags anymore. Not even, forget about the pledge.
Just not putting the flag.
They don't even have the flag in the classroom anymore. Right? Because a lot of lefty teachers think the flag is some sort of symbol of oppression, which is sad.
I don't get it.
Well,
hey, I don't think everybody has
sometimes.
to believe like I do or go to church like I do, but we're the United States of America, united being the key for me. And we had a conversation in here a while ago with Raul when he was here doing a great job on the Southern Arizona Sports Talk Show, by the way, Raul. But we're united. That does not mean we're going to agree on everything. Like our good buddy Ed Honey and we were just talking. It's okay to disagree.
Well, what happens is,
but don't be disagreeable in that process.
We've had this discussion on Faith Family Schools in the past, right? What is your priority on what defines you?
Yeah.
Right, and too many of our brothers and sisters are defined by whether they're a Republican or a Democrat.
Yeah.
Right, and there's so many other things that you should be defining yourself before you get to your political affiliation. So
I know it'll never happen. It's a pipe dream. I understand that, but I would love to get away from that even being like on our elections. And I know our good friend Edgar Soto is working on some of that stuff. Let's get away from this R&D. Let's get away with we've talked about it ad nauseum around here, Chris. Are we moving forward or are we falling behind? That's we're falling behind. People talk about the good old days. Well, some of the good old days were crappy. There were a lot of things we did that we shouldn't have been doing as a society.
In the end, the powers that be like breaking us up in our little groups and then having the little groups fight with each other.
I don't get it.
It's easier to run the place when we're beating each other up. So
I refuse to buy into that.
Me too.
I refuse to hate my brother or hate my neighbor or hate somebody. Matter of fact, I don't hate anybody. I'll only hate actions sometimes, but people. Even the most heinous.
Hey, if you're playing this right, they're supposed to be children of God, just like you.
Yeah.
No matter how much they're a pain in the ass or what they say.
Second commandment, baby.
The Lord still
says, "Love your neighbor as yourself."
Yep.
In the story, no asterisk, no qualifying of that.
So for me today, I'm a New York City, Long Island guy, and I had so many connections to people on that day. It just takes a whole other level for me.
I'm sure it does.
My very best friend Joe, his dad was a battalion chief in the Bronx at New York Fire Department, and he lost so many friends. I just remember Joe and his family going to funeral after funeral after funeral for the 60 days after September 11th.
Yeah.
And a hotel project I was working on, a guy came whose his brother was Ray Downey, and he was the guy who was the chaplain that died when the first tower fell. He was the guy who was also like at a. He's not a chaplain, so he was with the chaplain, and Ray was the search and rescue expert for New York Fire Department. He's the guy they sent to Oklahoma City after the bombing, and so I got to be good friends with his brother and his wife Eileen, Tom and Eileen Downey, and just him talking about his brother and losing him that day. My cousin Mike was working in the city, and we couldn't find him, right? Because there was no cell phone service, and he was trapped on Manhattan Island. Right, for 24 to 30 hours. So it was really to me, it was just a little closer than the
it's
average bear.
personal. Yeah.
You know, and so remember, we're being barraged by crap that comes through your phone, right? This distraction machine is part of, and also the idea that teaching civics or love of country is not really cool anymore in the K through 12 government school. So this will always, this 9/11 thing will fade faster than you would ever believe if we keep going the track we're going.
Oh yeah.
So, but
yeah, it was. It's this morning when I woke up, and I woke up early. I get up. You know why? Because it's cool in the morning. You are right about that.
Yeah, according to one of the local stations, they said 68 this morning.
Yeah, it was about 72 when I got up, or at least according to my phone.
Yep. We're getting there, buddy.
Yeah, we're getting there. Matter of fact, today is the last, at least on my forecast, of the hundreds, at least in the next 10 days.
We're getting there.
And there's some 80s, so that's great. But at that time, 8:46 Eastern time, so 5:46 our time.
Yep.
I was awake, and I thought about that. I mean, I remember my wife going, Clint, something crazy going on in New York. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, a plane flew into a building. And I'm like, what? And then they started reporting it. And I remember going right then, I said, Bin Laden.
Wow.
Bin Laden. Bin Laden. She's like, who? I'm like, Bin Laden. I'm telling you.
Well, you called it. Anyway, I hope we don't forget. I hope we don't. Yeah. Well, we probably will. That's where we're at.
Well, you know what? We won't forget as long as people like yourself and myself, and there's a lot of them on my Facebook page.
No, you got it.
There's a whole list of people, and they're beautiful tributes.
I have a lot of faith in that 16 to 25-year-old right now.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are going to remember.
Yeah.
The 30 to 40-year-old is just, they got nothing.
I don't know. My kids are in that. My son's 31. My daughter's 30 or 29.
Well, that's good. They're the exception
and you know what?
to what I see.
It was. Maybe it's because we modeled it as a.
Yeah, I mean,
this is serious. This is really bad. This is really, really, really bad. A lot of good stuff came out of that, but that's just. It's the darkest day in my lifetime as far as a nation, other than maybe the Kennedy assassination, which was a dark day.
Yep.
As well.
Yeah, for a single event on American soil while we were alive, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. I was just looking at Opdyke, Illinois, and I thought this was fascinating. It's the top things to do in Opdyke, Illinois. Okay. Which I love. So something called the Garden of the Gods.
Well, there is a Garden of the Gods fairly close.
Right, not the one in Colorado Springs. No. This looks like a place that has rocks and dead trees.
Yeah.
So we got that going for
Garden
it.
of the Gods.
The Pheasant Hollow Winery.
That must be new.
JJ's Sports Bar and Grill. And I swear to God, they show tacos. Yeah, let's go get
is that in Opdyke?
Let's go get some tacos in Opdyke, Illinois.
Sports Bar.
Yeesh. Westwood Recreation Area.
Nah, I don't know.
Ferncliff State Park.
Yeah, I know. Those are about an hour from Opdyke, but they're in the area.
The Frosty Mug Bar and Grill.
I know the Frosty Mug. That's in Mount Vernon. I know the Frosty Mug.
Jimmy James Blue Goose.
The Blue Goose. I'm not familiar with that. Down by the tracks. That's again in Mount Vernon.
If you like confusing menus, this place isn't for you.
Yeah. Hey, I got to shout one out.
And then the Vandalia State House State Historical Park.
Vandalia. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to shout one out, and this is family. This is now my cousin Brock Jolliffe. It was previously owned by my Aunt Marilyn and Uncle Jerry. I spaced it out there for a second. Jolliffe. It's the bigger jigger. And that's referred to as
wow.
Yeah, great food. I have been in various locations. Now it's called the Jigger or something else, I think now.
That's Clint at LiveTheDreamMedia.com.
It's been there. Probably 55 years, and I've been all over the United States and would mention kind of where I'm from, and different people go like, "Yeah, I've eaten at this place called the Jigger in Walmack, Centralia, Illinois."
All right.
And great food, great local community place. Shout out to my cousin Brock.
Brock, I love it.
Yeah,
I love
good
it.
Dude.
What's your? We're gonna switch gears on you because we're always moving here on the working title. Give me 2 to 3 if you're doing a podcast. Dream guests for.
Oh, that's a good question.
Dream guests.
That's a great
for
question.
Clint Peak.
You know what's cool is I'm going to revert to you to start a little stalling tactic. I love you and I. We aren't guests so much, although you've been a guest a time or two on our show before you became the man. It's fun. It's funny. It's fun talking to you. Hooking up and doing our thing. That's a great question.
And these, we'll say the living people.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you got for me?
Well, I'd love to have Joe Rogan on. I mean, the dude's number one in podcasting. He might draw a few new eyeballs to it.
I think you're going to say Joe Madden.
Yeah, Joe Madden. Well, he's not living. Although he would be one if he
No,
would.
that's...
Oh, Joe Madden. No, yeah. You know what?
Coach,
he'd be a great one. Ryan Sandberg came to mind. I'd love to have Ryan on. That's more sports related. Joe Madden. Yeah, Joe would be a great interview. Probably a better interview than Ryan, to be honest about it, because Joe's very articulate.
Absolutely.
That's a great question. I'd like to have Juan Ciscomani on here.
Oh, we can make that happen.
Yeah, I think I'd love to get him on. Matter of fact, his name has come up a couple of times.
So he's in Congress now. They'll be in session to the end of the month. Probably less. Then they'll bring him back for
re-election
re-election
I haven't
time.
had on? I've had a lot of people from there on, but I haven't had him on, and that's Craig Coulter. I'm going to work on getting him on here.
I do have Collins coming on Wake Up.
Do you?
A week from tomorrow, Chris Collins, associate
Good
pastor.
man.
And what happened was on Wake Up Tucson, I was talking about these propositions. Okay,
Yeah.
there's 13 propositions on your ballot.
Yeah.
When you get your ballot, it's going to be 2 pages, for God's sakes. And you're going to make somewhere between 70 and 80 choices on your ballot. So bring a sandwich.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this
That's crazy.
I know,
Stop
hard drive. I'm with you. Okay.
Not that we don't need to address problems, but how about we address one or two at a time?
Well, here's the best part too. Is this is bad for me? And some of us, and I'm sure you're the same way because I've seen you whip out the readers to read stuff. Bring your readers, because what? So my buddy Austin Vanderhayden, who's a very smart public policy guy from Goldwater Institute, him and I have done a couple of these road shows explaining the propositions. Right? We were at Saddlebrook and then the Northwest Republicans this last Saturday, and he said that they've reduced the font size to fit it all in the
yeah.
So bring your magnifying glass.
Isn't that discrimination against
against us nearsighted bastards?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So bring your readers.
Of course, if you blew it up big enough for me to read it,
Right.
we'd have like an encyclopedia.
Correct. So anyway, this Prop 139, which is the abortion one, which is just a travesty. It's infanticide on demand like you would never believe. So my own Catholic Church has been real soft in response to it. They've been weak as hell. They love yelling about the illegal immigrant money that they make because it's got lots of money. I mean, Pima County has blown, of your taxpayer dollars, $100 million to facilitate 500,000 people invading America, which I sure assume of them I might be eating a cat or duck in Springfield, Ohio. Eating a cat and duck in Springfield, Ohio. What I was going to say is I asked what churches out there are coming strong saying stay away from this thing.
I know one.
Right? And so what happened was one of our listeners, Mark on Wake Up, sent me this email. He's an OVCNer. And he said that literally Chris Collins did this amazing he did this
2 Sundays ago.
Yeah, and he just like knocked it out of the park on kind of not just this, but like kind of the more, not just, it wasn't just specifically on the abortion thing.
No, but
you know what I mean?
the propositions as a whole.
He brought up the abortion thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So I texted Chris and I said, we got to have this discussion on the air. So
that's next Thursday.
Yep. He said, this is from Mark. Hey, Chris, great show as always on Friday. I know you had Chris Collins from OVCN on in the past. I would really suggest his message he delivered on August 25th. Very direct message from the pulpit, reference to the church's historical role and present obligation to pay attention to politics and vote accordingly. He even holds up the 139 abortion flyer at one point to comment on it. So
I would suggest anybody that's got time, the last 4 messages have been, and Craig and Chris alternated. Donkeys, elephants, and Jesus have been the theme of the last 4 Sundays. And if you've got time, each message is roughly 30 minutes. I would strongly urge any Bible-based or believer to go listen to these messages. And you can find them at Oral Valley Church of the Nazarene, Facebook page, YouTube. They're powerful. I mean, I leave there a lot going, that's the best I've ever heard throughout my time there. But I saw Chris last night at a board meeting, and I was like, Chris, it's like every week you surpass what you did the week before.
Well, he's, as we like to say, young Raul is asking me about, hey, I want to talk to you about, help with my doing what I do on air and everything. I said, my pleasure. I go, but remember, it's all about the reps.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And Chris is getting to that critical mass of reps.
Well, that was and that perfect, because this segues right back in. You ask who I would love to have on. Here's one, and here's the reason why. I would Jerry Seinfeld I'd love to have him on. I'd
put Seinfeld on my list.
I would definitely. And he was great. I mean, one of the last TV series shows that I watched. I've got my little favorites. I'm now into this Dark Wind.
Wow, I thought you were going to say Barney Miller.
on Netflix/AMC. Great. 2 seasons. I watched it all this weekend. It's dark. I mean, it's not, this is intense, but it's great. But here's the reason why. I just posted something from Jerry yesterday. He talked about the very thing you just talked about, reps. He said he's watching these guys build buildings in New York City, and he goes, it's all about the tonnage. You just got to keep going.
Yeah.
We're none of us are really that great. But you keep doing something long enough, you keep leaning in, you keep getting better at what you do, you get your reps. That's what we were talking earlier about directing.
You know what I love about Jerry, too, right now is he's at a point in his career, he's got more money than he knows what to do with, right? But he doesn't act like he doesn't have those airs to it. Yeah. But it has more than ever. I think he hasn't changed. He has the freedom to say exactly what he wants to say.
Yeah.
He's sick of the political correct crap when it comes to comedy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he just, I would watch the, it's called Fly on the Wall. It's the Dana Carvey, David Spade podcast with Jerry, when Jerry came out with the Pop-Tart movie 2-3 months ago. And it's just, Jerry is on fire in this thing. Yeah. And he's just talking about how hard it is to do comedy. Right.
Yeah, that was kind of like the safe haven where you could say anything.
Right.
Right? Now we can't because we're going to hurt somebody's feelings. When did that happen? When we quit doing the Pledge of Allegiance? Everybody's feelings got hurt all of a sudden. We got, we're going to cancel somebody because they said, hey, you have isn't that First Amendment?
Well,
I mean, I don't have to like it, and I don't have to participate, and I can boycott your movies or songs and stuff.
Bad K-12 with helicopter parents raising insulated soft kids.
Yeah.
Then you take a 24-hour news cycle, right, in relation to all the misery in the world, right?
Hey, didn't Paul Harvey talk about this in the 60s?
Yes. This is when you say,
if I was the devil, I think is how that started.
That's a good one. We play that on Wake Up Tucson every so many months. I think you've just reminded me that might be coming back tomorrow.
If I were the devil.
So, and again,
because let's face reality. That's what we're fighting.
This is hard drive coming up right here.
That is what we're fighting. The evil that we're fighting is Satan. Period. I mean, yeah, people get caught up in it, but to me, it's like he's good at what he does. He's been doing this for millenniums.
We're getting to a point where back to the makeup of your average bear right now is so weak and so thin.
Yeah.
Right? Again, they're dying for distraction.
Yeah.
Right? That's all they're at. They have the attention span of a mosquito, right? This thing. This is where it's at.
Riddle me this, Chris.
Riddle me this, Joker.
So everything we're saying, I agree with what you're saying, and the media and all this. I agree with that. But nobody's really watching them. When you look at their demographics, collectively, they're drawing 5-6 million people a day. Okay? How is that translating to all 350 million? Because I'm not saying everybody's polarized, because there's probably a whole lot that aren't. But, boy, there's a whole bunch of people that really have taken sides, left or right, and I'm throwing them both together because I'm more in the middle here. Let's figure out ways to solve problems rather than throw stones at each other. Fair enough?
Sure.
How does that small a demographic influence all of us? Is it just apathy?
Well, there's a truckload of apathy. But again...
But there's got to be more than that, because apathy don't give a crap. And we got a lot of people that really give a crap.
I call them algorithmic echo chambers. Right? That's done by your social media and everything you watch. How many times do you say something and all of a sudden you start getting ads because your phone's listening to you, right? Algorithmic echo chambers is kind of where you're at. So
it's not TV anymore that's doing it. Legacy TV, as we know it, or cable TV. It's right here.
So we're just
is this what we're saying?
Yeah, that's the battle. The battle's here. So we're talking about, in this election, what percentage of America's, I have this conversation with Congressman Schweikert, what's percentage of the electorate right now is persuadable?
Yeah.
Right? Because there's people who watched that train wreck of a debate last night.
Did you watch it?
No.
No, me neither.
I watched a couple of clips this morning, but
no,
they're always disappointing.
No.
Right? And my thing with Kamala is when she does this, 2 hands up. This is her poker tell. She's making stuff up. She's like conjuring.
Yeah.
Like some sort of gypsy magician. But I will tell you that in those persuadable, what percentage of that is really persuadable?
What is it?
I think it's 8 to 10%.
Yeah, okay.
That's at most.
Max.
At most.
Max.
All right. So I will tell you that in persuadables, how many persuadables watched that debate last night? Not very many.
Okay, 10% of 10%.
Right. But
maybe.
Then what happens on the back end? So they're going to watch. It might come through on their social media feed a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the battle, right? The Republicans are going to put about how much of a train wreck she was and Trump was the king, and he just nailed it. And the left is going to do the other side of it, right? And who wins the battle of the algorithm, right? And getting into your thumb scroll, right? How many people just go, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Right? But I will tell you, the winner of the persuadables, cat and geese. That is the winner of the persuadables. Meaning...
You talking Ohio?
Yes. Back to Springfield, Ohio. The stories of the Haitian illegal immigrants taking the geese out of the pond and killing and eating them. And then one of the Springfield residents describing that a cat was being hung up like they just gutted it and they were draining it of blood in their backyard to eat it, right? And I love that the losers from ABC's during the debate, we talked to the town manager of Springfield. That's untrue. Okay, that's right. We've talked. He knows. Okay, but what I'm saying is that all those memes, and you've seen them.
Yeah,
that's been more. I think that's been more powerful to persuade the persuadables than what happened at the actual debate last night, because they're not watching that. Right?
Well, you know what, Chris? I think you're right.
Did you see the Alf one?
The what?
Alf. Remember Alf?
Oh, yeah. I've seen it. Okay. What you talking about, Willis?
So Alf, of course, is the, quote, lovable alien
That's two different
puppet.
shows, isn't it?
No. Yeah, you just did different strokes.
Different strokes. Yeah. Alf. Yeah. Yeah. They were on it roughly the same. There you go.
So there's
Cat.
Alf.
Yeah, cat.
Okay.
And
it said, remember when illegal aliens who ate cats was fiction? Good times. Right?
Yeah.
Well, that's had more of a powerful play in your thumb scrolls.
Yeah.
Than because
you know what though? That's always the way it's been to the persuadables. Because the non-persuadables, the ones that have dug in either side, whatever it is, they're reading, they're researching, or they're listening to the propaganda. So they're buying into they're drinking the Kool-Aid from either side.
So
but the funny stuff, the stuff that sticks you, the commercial that where's the beef?
right.
Those are the ones that gain traction.
So they make you laugh. Simple. So I mean, memes put political cartoonists out of business.
Oh yeah.
Right. There's some good ones. There was the horrible guy locally, Fitz, who was just horrible, just a weak, angry little dude.
Yeah.
Right. Just made up crap. Right.
Yeah.
The memes drove guys like Fitz out of business, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But memes is a huge. This is if you're. I'm going to tell you something. If you're running for office and as we move through the future and you're not memes are not part of your your social media campaign, you're losing something.
Yeah.
They're really easy to do.
Yeah,
right?
I was getting ready to say the Fitz of the world have to come up with an idea, then they have to spend hours drawing, penciling, coloring.
Correct.
Where something like you just mentioned, idea, concept, print the publication, and if you're good, 20 minutes.
I do these things and I can make a meme in
2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So
have you ever noticed the better ones are done in 2 minutes?
Always.
The ones you put a little time into, you're like, I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to.
My favorite one, of course, is I'm not a cat guy. I'm a dog guy, right? But I do love Smudge the cat. Yeah. He's like my hero in the meme world.
Yeah, you use him pretty regularly.
Oh, and so the one where I had a friend of mine. She's a Democrat. She loves Regina Romero, but even she texted me when I put the one back up where Regina's screaming that Tucson's a safe and economically vibrant city, and then I put my face where Smudges says, "You've lost your mind."
Yeah.
She's like, "Dude, that made me laugh."
Yeah, out loud.
Yeah.
LOL,
so
baby.
That's what we want. That's what we want. What other? So we got Jerry Seinfeld, which we both agree on.
Yeah.
Right. You said who was the other one? Oh, Craig Coulter, because he never comes on your podcast.
Yeah, because he ignores me on that
sounds
stuff.
like a cry for help.
Come on. Joe Madden, because he is alive.
Joe Madden.
Sandberg. Who would you have on if you could have a dream podcast
Now,
guest?
what's been really cool,
because you get a lot of them.
What's been cool about my doing a radio show and my guilty pleasure of my progressive rock guys like John Anderson from Yes. I've talked to John twice or 3 times now, right? So I've been spoiled on that thing. On the music side, let me think about that. On the sports side, I'm going to give you a guy that you're not going to expect, okay? And he comes off as kind of a dick, but I think he's. I was a baseball pitcher. They're going back to. This is a baseball player, so you'll be happy.
Clemens?
Nope.
Okay.
He's a cheater.
Okay. Well, yeah, he is.
Greg Maddux.
Oh, the professor.
I would love to do an hour with Greg Maddux.
Okay. Well, we'll have to.
We're going to do joint Jerry Seinfeld.
That dude, come on.
So Greg Maddux does come off a little bit like a dick, okay? But in the end, he was, to me, one of the smartest pitchers. I would have loved to have done Tom Seaver, but Tom passed away, right? Is Tom Seaver? Yeah, he did pass away.
Tom Seaver, yeah.
So Tom Seaver is my idol growing up.
Ed Kranepool passed away the other day.
Oh, I love Ed Kranepool.
Yeah.
But Tom Seaver for the Mets, and then he was on the Reds, and then he was on the White Sox.
Yeah.
But Tom Seaver's my guy.
Yeah.
As a pitcher, I wrote me and my brother read The Art of Pitching by Tom Seaver.
Yeah.
Kind of like The Art of Hitting by Ted Williams. There was The Art of Pitching.
Right.
So I can't get Tom Seaver anymore. Yeah. So I would want Greg Maddux. Smartest guy
guy to ever pitch, in my opinion.
Right? I mean,
he didn't have the skill set that Tom Seaver was just bad.
Right. But did Greg Maddux ever throw too many balls over 90 miles an hour?
Yeah, maybe early. And you know what? He lost when he did.
Yeah.
Because he threw pretty hard as a rookie the first couple of years with the Cubs.
But he's a sinker guy.
Gosh.
Right? Through the sinker.
And he just kept working it. And the umpires, let's face, people said, well, they gave him a lot of room. Well, yeah, they did. Because the guy he could just drop it.
That's the thing, right?
On the head of a pin.
So I've read some of his stuff, and he would say I'd start a fastball 4 inches off the plate. Mm-hmm. I couldn't even think. I mean, I pitched, and I try to aim towards the edge of the place, but if it happened, I go, that's nice,
location.
Right? And he said if it got called the ball, he'd move it in an inch.
Yeah.
And if it got called the ball, he'd move it in an inch.
Yeah.
But once it was a strike, even if it was 4 inches off the plate, he moved it another inch off the plate.
I heard a story recently about him. Let me think of how this. It was he was with the Braves. That still sucks. That the Cubs could have signed him for $24 million, and he went to the Braves. Of course, he was probably going anyway. They had a better team. But I'm trying to think of the catcher, Eddie Morales, I believe.
For the Cubs?
No, for the Braves. I can't think of his name. Maybe Lopez. But he was. They were playing in a regular season game, and they were playing the Pirates, I believe. No. They were playing the Astros, and Kim Caminiti was up.
All right, so I'm going to give you some.
Give me some catchers there for. Was it? I can see the guy's face.
Eddie Perez, Henry Blanco.
Let me see. Let me look at his face. It was either.
That's a list of all of his better.
It was either it wasn't Perez. It was must have been Eddie Perez. Eddie Perez, and it wasn't Lopez. Yeah, no. Okay, so it's
What's interesting that Eddie Perez caught him more than anyone else.
It was Eddie Perez. Yeah, 120 starts. It's him. And if memory serves me correct, he was pitching to, I believe it was Caminiti when they were with the Padres, and he called him out. He called him. Maddox always called his own game. You know,
Sure.
With the different movements. And he called him out and he said, I'm going to throw this pitch. This was a regular season game. And Eddie's like, no, we need to throw this pitch. He goes, I want to throw this pitch. And Caminiti hammered it.
Right.
Okay. He goes, why'd you do that? He goes, well, we're going to meet him in the playoffs someday. Situation's going to be the same. So they meet in the playoffs later that year.
And what pitch did he throw him?
I can't remember what pitch he threw him, but he threw him that runner.
Right.
And I think he threw him a fastball away, and Caminiti hammered
And his
it.
thing was,
and the next thing was, because he was setting him up in a regular season game. Same situation plays out in a playoff game later that year. And
the thing about Maddox that was so amazing about him, why it was great to have him as your pitcher, right? Didn't throw many balls, right? A lot of strikes, right? And he wanted you to hit the ball.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? He was going to make you pound the ball into the ground.
Yeah.
You didn't really hit too many home runs off of a Greg Maddox.
But I'm thinking in a May game, the guy's already thinking October.
Yep.
Let's give him this one. Because one day when it really matters, I'm gonna use this.
There's certain people that if you hear them talk, you just get smarter.
I never really thought of Maddox as a jerk so much as I always thought he just was he's sounding pretty smart, and he was kind of direct, almost like
I thought he came off as a dick once in a while.
Yeah,
all right, which is fine. Now, when he's your pitcher,
hey,
you love the guy being the
Randy
dick.
Johnson was a dick his whole career.
Absolutely.
And then he retired, and you're like, well, who is this dude?
Guess where last time you're gonna love this. Guess what, last time where I saw Randy Johnson live, and it wasn't a baseball game.
He was at a football game taking pictures somewhere.
He was 2 seats in front of me at a Yes concert in Phoenix.
Okay, yeah, he's big.
I'm like,
big on Yes.
Absolutely. So now I even liked him even better.
My buddy Rick every now and then gets Randy Johnson's tickets. Although he bought season
look
tickets.
At you name dropping.
Yeah, but so if Rick ever invites you to a game, make sure you say yes.
The other person I would like in the sports world, this is very European soccer, is a German coach named Jurgen Klopp. He just retired as a coach of Liverpool. This guy is a total maniac. Like, he's like the guy that when you played for him, it's that guy you want to run through the wall for. Mm-hmm. It's this guy. Mm-hmm. Totally gregarious, but serious and totally on your side 24 hours a day. Love that guy. And then we
don't have enough of those people in our world anymore. That's part of our problem.
Correct.
It's all about transactional. What's in this for me? What's in this for me? What's in this for me? We're mercenaries. We had this conversation about professional sports as a whole, baseball specifically, but in the good old days, this is the good old days. I don't think this was fair to the players. Pretty much, if I held your contract, you're mine,
right,
forever. Thank you, Curt Flood, for challenging that. Although it cost him his career. Curt Flood does not. Every person that has signed a contract since about 1974 through to today ought to take a small percentage and do something for the memory of Kurt Flood. I mean,
Amen.
and
The pioneer of free agency.
Yeah.
I think another guy, and he's still alive at age 94, and he's one of my favorite guys to read in the governmental society economy world, and that's a guy named Thomas Sowell.
Oh yeah.
Sowell.
Is he that old?
He's 94.
Wow.
And born in 1930.
Wow. I didn't realize he was that
And this
old.
guy, if you could go read the book Basic Economics by him. Just read that. Every kid going through high school, if they can read, we're always worried about that.
Yeah.
Should do you just do a class on basic economics. There's no math in it. Right? It's not like that kind of economics book. It's just the basic economics.
Yeah.
And if government officials understood the book and they went by it a little bit, just a little bit,
Yeah.
life would be so much better for everybody.
You know what? Obviously, either one or two things with our elected politicians, and I'm talking local to federal. One or two things. They either just don't understand finance, economics, or they don't care. It's one of the two.
That's true. That's true.
Maybe a little bit of both. You mentioned one other person, and I got to throw him in, and then I'll quit daydreaming on who I'd love to have on. Of course, Warren Buffett would be someone I'd love to have on.
Yeah, smart
And if
guy.
he were still alive, I think I would have preferred Charlie Munger, who gets very little mention.
Right.
But Charlie, Warren said Charlie was really the architect of what they did. He goes, I get the credit. I'm the front guy. Charlie never sought the spotlight. And Charlie passed away, I think, last fall at 99. And the guy was, you know what? He understood real life. He understood real and finance, obviously.
One last thing on Thomas Sowell, Sowell. Look him up. Just watch his YouTube videos.
I had
You'll
no
get smarter.
idea he was 94, though.
He has a book called Vision of the Anointed, and talking about how the self-anointed power class and what their vision is for what do you think you should be doing, and they'll just keep slamming it through. But he talks about welfare, right? And he's an African-American gentleman himself, and he talks about how minimum wage laws are crap. Mm-hmm. Right? He said that if there was minimum wage laws as a young black kid back in Baltimore, he'd never get a job.
Yeah.
Right? Because they wouldn't hire a young 18-year-old black guy over a white guy if there was a minimum wage, right? He talks about that. But he talks about the great society of Lyndon Baines Johnson, right, which was this explosion of the welfare state. And he actually goes through the stats because he's an economist, right, talking about how there was like a little bit of bump, but then as it just starts happening and developing, more black families were in under the poverty line after the Great Society
Than before.
Correct.
Isn't that crazy?
right? Because you just can't hand out the dough, right? And then take away the dignity of the worker, which is kind of part of what's happened.
Two things
also.
when you say that, and I'm going to really date myself, but Billy Graham said he was talking to a cardinal in the Catholic Church,
Right.
Our archbishop. So I'm not sure which faith he was with,
Right.
And he said, and this I think this took place in the '60s during that Great Society revolution. He said, we have fought, maybe the '70s, we have fought for this for generations, that the state would help us do this. He goes, now that we've got it, we realize, what, it was a mistake.
Yep.
Here's my take on it. I've said this for 100 years. Okay, not that long. But for 100 years ago is when it started. The church, the big C, quit doing its job. It says clearly in the Bible, take care of the widows and orphans. Firsthand, I can see a need in my community. I'm going to take care of that, right?
Yep.
It also says if a man doesn't work, a man shouldn't eat. So when we I've said this to anyone that's known me for any period of time, hunger. No one wants to be hungry. I don't want to see anyone hungry. But hunger is a good thing.
Sure. It's the ultimate motivator.
If it weren't for hunger, mankind would have never crawled out from underneath the rock in the cave the first time. It would have never happened.
So in the end, you can't. What happens when the government starts becoming the quote, they're going to take care of it.
Yeah.
Right. What happens is the average human being decides I don't have to take care of my brother and
Look
sister.
at our society right now. That's what bringing it up. The helicopter parents, the kids that didn't have, dude, I wasn't made to, but I was encouraged to. 10, 11, 12 years old, I participated in the common good of my family by doing chores and working in the garden. I've told stories about working in Opdyke, Illinois in the grocery store at 12, 13 years old.
So you were up at amazing of the common good.
We were exactly of the family and the community as a whole. And if someone was in need, that's how Tammy and I roll now. If we see someone in need, we're like, well, I guess we're supposed to take care of them. I might refer them to an agency. I'm a part of the Marana Food Bank and Church of the Nazarene. I'll refer you to those. But right now, you need help.
Right.
Let's grab a burger. Let's put some clothes on your back. Let's do something to fix this right now.
To me, having that caring attitude about your fellow human is part of the spirituality of we call it the brotherhood of the human race. Mm-hmm. Brother and sisterhood of the human race, right? And when you abdicate that responsibility to take care of the downtrodden to the government,
stop.
Okay, you break that, and then what happens is it actually makes you care less about people.
It does.
All right, so I'm going to go to the old Christmas classic, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Mm-hmm. So there's the part where he talks about those guys say, hey, we're going to raise some money to buy some meat and drink for the poor around Christmas time. And he says, are there no workhouses? Are there no orphanages? Yeah. Right? Because at that time, the government was, quote, taking care of this, and these people were living in squalor. But it was being abdicated spiritually by Ebenezer and others. They'll be taken care of by the most inefficient, uncaring organization on the planet, or their partners who are willing just to make money off of the taxpayer. Right? And so that's why this abdicating the responsibility of the idea of the charity towards your fellow human being is a horrible idea for the human race.
Horrible.
Right? And so if you want to go on a Christian bent here, Jesus, when he said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's and give to God what's God's, this is part of what we're talking about, children. Right? So there's, like in the Catholic Church, they have this fight because they cut this deal with the commies who run China. Right? You let us have churches, but we're going to let you pick the bishops and who's there. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Right. Well, what's the difference? When the Catholic Church takes hundreds of millions of dollars from the federal government, you're getting a little too cozy, kids.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, we could rant on this forever. Greg Maddux, Thomas Sowell, Jerry Seinfeld,
Warren
Joe
Buffett,
Rogan,
Joe Maddox,
Jurgen Klopp,
Joe Maddox. Chris DeSimone, David Samorano.
You're a sweet talker, Betty Crocker.
Yeah.
All right, we got to get going, so it's time for your quiz.
Here we go.
Again, this is the part of the show where I torture Clint with a quiz.
What are we going to do today? What are we doing? What you got for me today, Chris?
This one is going to put a truckload of pressure on you. And you're thinking, what Seinfeld character am I today? Are you Newman, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to the Chicago Public Library. How well do you really know the Chicago Cubs?
Okay, I'm up for this. Let's do it.
What year were the Cubs established as a National League baseball team? I got options.
Dates for me. Good.
1876, 1905, 1900, 1880. So 1876.
I think what?
1876, 1880, 1900, 1905.
There was only one in the 1800s?
Two. 1880 or 1876.
I think 1880, but I'm not positive.
As we say at Regis Philbin, is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Okay. 1880. Okay. Wrigley Field wasn't always called Wrigley Field.
No.
What was it called when they first started playing there in 1916?
Yeah.
Weekman, Cubs, Waveland, Northside Field.
It's Weekland or Cubs? I think it's Weekland. I'm pretty sure. Final answer, Weekland.
Okay.
At one point, though, they did call it the Cubs Field, I thought.
What is the most amount of games the Cubs have ever won in a single season? Is it 110, 112, 116, or 118?
It's not 16 or 18 because the 16 is the Seattle Mariners. 108 or 110? I'm going to go 108.
Okay, 108 is not an option. So 110,
okay,
112, 110. Okay. Which Cubs player hit the most home runs in a season? Sammy Sosa, Derek Lee.
Sammy Sosa.
Okay. The other two were Hack Wilson.
Yeah, no. Sammy hit 60.
And of course,
6 1 year.
Of course, Hack was a RBI monster.
191.
Does Hack Wilson still have the RBI?
Yeah. I think it's 191.
Let's see. I'm going to look that up real quick.
It's 190 or 191.
RBIs in a season. I still think it's Hack Wilson.
191.
191. Well played. You do know your Cubs. Okay, hold on.
A little bit.
How many World Series titles have the Cubs won?
They've won 3.
So your options, just to tell you, are 3, 4, 2, or 6.
3.
Okay.
One in my lifetime.
Which of the following Hall of Fame baseball players played for the Cubs at some point in their career? Stan Musial, Lou Brock, Nolan Ryan, or Ted Williams?
Lou Brock.
Name the Cubs pitcher who recorded the most strikeouts in a single game.
Kerry Wood.
It's one of the options. I just hit that. Did I mess with it?
20.
The other option,
he didn't walk a guy in that game.
I believe that was the Astros, right?
May 6th.
It was the Astros.
Yeah, May 6th of 1995. Quick reference. You know, there's been 5 20-game strikeouts. Clemens twice, Kerry Woods, Randy Johnson, and Max Scherzer. All of them struck out 20 in a game.
That's amazing.
0 walks between the 5 of them.
When you're on, kid. Which Cub was the MVP of the 2016 World Series? Haywood, Chris Bryant, Ben Zobrist.
Ben.
Okay. And the other one was Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah. And I thought it should have been Scherzer, only because even though he had limited and didn't play in the regular season, he had some really key at-bats.
When was the first night game played in Wrigley? 86?
I remember it.
And there's 2 dates in 88 and 1 in 87.
It's 88.
So it's either May 6th or August 8th.
I think it's August 8th, but I'm pretty sure it was August 8th of 88, right? Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
What's great,
I remember it.
You can watch that game on YouTube, okay? And what's great about it, it's Harry.
Yeah.
And for a few innings,
Bill Murray.
It's the funniest crap in the world.
Oh, yeah. And
if I could watch Cub games with Harry and Bill Murray for the rest of my life.
They were roasted, man. Gotta have that Budweiser.
What is the name of the Cubs mascot? Is it Clark, Wrigley, Ivy, or Cubby?
I think it's Clark. Yeah, it's Clark.
Clark, Wrigley, Ivy, or Cubby?
It's Clark. I'm pretty sure.
All right.
That's a newer thing.
Let's see how you did. What year the Cubs were established? 1880. The answer is 76. So the earlier date.
It was the earlier date. I know it was the 1800s.
Weekman Park was the original name in 1916. They played their first game there. It was named Cubs Park from 20 to 26. Then finally renamed Wrigley Field in 27. I remember reading a book about the history of the Cubs, and they talked about how Wrigley Field really was like this not just the ivy. They used to have trees and all this crazy thing. Yeah. It was the garden spot of baseball.
Back in the good old days, you see the pictures of people watching games from their trees and stuff. I remember even in the 80s, it was still a neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
You know, people parked in people's driveways. And of course, that's not.
Most games won in a season, believe it or not, was 116, but it was 1906. Okay, so I forgive you for not knowing that.
That would tie because the Seattle Mariners won 116. I thought they held the record, but I guess they hold the record with the Cubs.
Sammy Sosa, 66 homers in 1998. So one of my favorite things to watch, this in the old days of talk shows, Conan O'Brien has that thing where they have a picture of a famous person right? And Robert Smigel would would talk with their lips.
Yeah.
Right? So he does the one, remember all the baseball players went to Congress
Oh,
to
yeah.
talk about steroids, Rafi Palmeiro and all that, right?
Yeah.
So Conan has an interview with all those folks.
Yeah, and Sammy couldn't speak English at all during that.
That was the beautiful part. So what happens is he goes, Sammy, he brings up Sammy with a face, right? Smigel's lips, right? And he goes, well, what about the the steroids and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, no hablo inglés.
No hablo English.
So what happens is Conan goes, we were prepared for this. So we have the question in Spanish, right? And so he reads it, and then he goes, he reads the question in Spanish, and he goes, no hablo español. And I'm like, perfect. Cubs have won 3 World Series, so you got that one. Lou Brock began his 19-year MLB career with the Cubs in 61.
Yep. Traded in 63.
Didn't say that in this, but I believe you. Buglio, I love that. Kerry Wood, absolutely correct on most strikeouts in a single game. Ben Zobrist was the MVP in 16. They did play their first night game in August of 88.
So everything in the 20th century forward, I pretty much nailed. It was
and Clark is the name of the mascot, the little bear cub.
Yeah.
So, because it's located at the corner of Clark and Addison.
Yeah. Remember the Blues Brothers?
You got 2 out of 10 right, 2 wrong, which is damn good.
Yeah.
Good
I knew
job.
it was 1800s. I just didn't realize it was 1816. Remember the Blues Brothers when they gave Elwood's address on his license was 1060 West Addison?
Yeah.
And, and the Nazis showed up at he's put out a tri-state alert.
And again, one of my favorite things about Harry Carey is Steve Stone as the color commentator was the greatest straight man for Harry's lunacy.
Yeah, he was.
Right? He'd be like, hi! Yeah. That's right, Harry.
I always wondered why Steve Stone, because Steve Stone knows his baseball. I always wondered why he didn't have a GM job somewhere. He just had to be by his own. He just had to not want it.
I guess so. Then you had Hawk Harrelson on the Cubs
Hanging
on the White
Sox. Board.
He was a nut too.
Yeah, he was a total nut. Yeah.
Harry was more folksy.
Put it on the board. Put it on the board. He gone.
I could see him and Harry drinking 3 6-packs during a game.
Yeah, the Hawk.
The Bud Man.
Yeah.
Well, there it is. Another working title podcast in the books today. So congratulations on your Cubs work today.
Hope we didn't upset 2 people too bad. We love you guys. We want America to be united.
Yeah.
Unlike ever before. How about like September 12th? How about we, not that I want anything tragic to happen, but how about we try to feel, you've seen that meme that's running around right now, the best way to honor those that were lost were treat each other the way we did during that first 96 hours. Wouldn't that be awesome if we could get back to that like full time? We could agree to disagree.
Well, we have to be intentional in our actions, and we have to let go of our narcissism a little bit.
Yeah. We have a statement around here a lot. You know what? Check your ego at the door. You don't know everything.
I think another thing that I think people should do, would be part of the detoxing of the phone, is. I think you need to read a book. Mm-hmm. I want you to read 1 book before the end of the year. Yeah. Real book with paper.
1. What a challenge. What a challenge, Chris.
One book between now and the end of the year. I don't care if it's one you read before.
Yeah.
Read a book before the end of the year. America will be a lot better for it.
You know, I'm going to confess, I spend a lot of time on my phone. I'm not always on social media. I do a lot of other stuff. But I don't watch TV at all, as far as news especially. I think I'm going to start challenging myself to put it down because it is very addictive.
So my thing was, you should always. I think a good thing is shut your social media account down. Just log out.
Yeah.
'Cause it's so easy just to hop back on.
Yeah.
So you want to log out. So you say, "Oh, I got to log. Oh, I did this for a reason."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Log out from Friday at lunch till Monday at lunch.
Yeah.
Start there.
Not a bad idea.
Just shut it down. You're not missing anything.
I do pay some bills because of this, so I have to pay attention.
I understand.
You know, I can do that without. I'm gonna accept your challenge. I may not go 48 hours or something.
I do social media. Don't get me wrong; it's part of life. But, a 48-hour decock talks on the
How
weekends.
about this, though? Chris, we look at it, we're going to go, promise. But we use it a little. I hate to sound this, but I'm really not paying attention to other people's posts. What I'm doing is trying to create attention for the people that I represent.
Right.
Sometimes myself, sometimes my business, sometimes other people's business. So I don't spend as much time, maybe as the average bear, cruising through other people's posts. I admit that.
One of the nicest compliments we ever received as a family is one day we're on a roadie through Colorado, and we stopped by a Mickey D's because clean bathroom, grab a coffee and a McMuffin and move on with your life. But I remember we were sitting there together having breakfast.
And no one had their phone out.
Right. And what happened was there was these 4 Korean war vet kind of guys who were sitting at another table. You could tell they go there a couple of times a week just to talk.
Yeah.
And so one of them came up to us and go, "We were commenting about you guys." "Oh, what, did we do something wrong?" They go, "No, none of you were looking at your phone and you all talk to each other. So thank you."
Yeah. Good job, Chris.
I wasn't even thinking about, me. Everyone in our family, we like each other and we love talking to each other. So
we do that.
We
when we get together as a family, everybody put your phone down. Let's just.
No one has their phone anywhere near the table.
Let's just let's spend the next 30 minutes with each other.
Yeah. Why
Good
not?
job, man.
Good God to you.
Hey, we didn't shout out Ron.
Yeah, Ron Arenas, Picture Rocks, heating, cooling,
dude.
And plumbing, because I was chastised by his wife that I don't say the word plumbing enough. So,
Thank you,
Picture
Ron.
Rocks, heating, cooling, and plumbing.
There he is.
Well, thank you.
440-4069. And
the guy's a multitasking wizard.
we should have shot out to him in the beginning, and we rudely didn't do it. And because of we didn't let go of our narcissism, and we kept on talking about ourselves. Thank you, Ronald. Appreciate all your work as always, everywhere and in this town. So keep it up.
And a shout out to David, Live the Dream Media, as always, making us look good, getting the right lights.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. And look at you. You have some rosy. You got some rosy cheeks. Yeah. Rosy nose. I noticed how rosy your nose is on
but
camera.
It's not like that for real.
That's true.
My wife said that's not the real color. So
you got a little bit of a W.C. Fields red going on that nose.
On camera.
Yes, no, look right here. You look like a ghost.
Yeah. Hey, and a shout out to our lovely bride. So we couldn't do what we do without, and that includes Ron.
They all have great
Miss Lisa, Miss Tammy.
They have great patience for us.
They do. Yeah,
Lisa, Tammy, and Janae.
Yeah, thank you, ladies.
Freaking saints.
Yeah, they are.
So. All right, everyone, Working Title Podcast on the Live the Dream Media Network.
Hey, and be nice to each other, guys.
Things are getting bigger and better around here. Keep your eyes open for new shows and new everything.
New everything. New camera coming today.
Wow.
And if we like it, we're going to buy more.
One day, you're going to know Peekaboo as Wolfman Jack Peekaboo.
Yeah.
It's coming up. All right, everyone, God bless. And remember September 11th. Remember how you treated each other the day after. All right. Everyone have a great day.